Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Tom Hunter Pratt. I'm the Multimedia Specialist at the Institute of Child Nutrition. I will be facilitating today's webinar, and you all will be muted as you enter the webinar. I'm going to give everyone a few moments to come in. At the end of today's webinar, you will all receive follow-up emails. 24 hours after the end of today's webinar, you will all receive follow-up emails. These emails will contain links to today's recording, and also 24 hours after the conclusion of today's webinar, you will all receive a certificate. If you have any questions, please notice that there's a Q&A button on your Zoom control panel. Go ahead and click that and put any questions you have in there. We'll have a Q&A session after each panelist presentation, and you feel free to ask questions there. And if you have any issues, you can also put those there as well. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm going to turn the presentation over to Natasha.
Thanks, Tom. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to session 2 of our Produce Safety University Summer Series. If this is your second week joining us, welcome back. If today is your first session with the PSU team, welcome. You have chosen one of the most popular sessions within Produce Safety University and my personal favorite. My name is Natasha Williams, and I am a food safety specialist with the Food and Nutrition Services Office of Food Safety. I serve also as the program manager for the Produce Safety University, and today I will serve as your moderator. Next slide, Cindy. Uh-oh, there we go. Next, yeah, there we are. So for today's presentation on writing produce specifications, we'll feature our speakers, Tom Schwartz, Master Trainer with the USDA's Specialty Crops Inspection Division for the Agricultural Marketing Service, and Chef Cindy Story, PhD of Culinary Solutions. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our speakers today. Leo T. Schwartz, also known as Tom, is a training specialist and ASTD Certified Master Trainer with the USDA Specialty Crops Inspection Division with over 20 years of experience. Tom started his career as a fresh fruit and vegetable inspector and then a training officer in the New York City Terminal Market for the Fresh Products Branch in 2000. His current duties include being a good agricultural practices auditor and a market inspector training program instructor. Prior to Tom's federal career, he worked in private industry as the owner of a wholesale retail produce operation in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, and as a warehouse supervisor for Fresh America in Hanover, Pennsylvania. Tom has spent his lifetime in the produce industry and brings a wealth of knowledge and passion to produce safety. Joining Tom today is Chef Cindy Story. Chef Cindy of Culinary Solutions works as an independent school nutrition consultant and trainer. Chef Cindy and the K-12 Culinary Excellence team work together to bring their skills and experience in developing a food service systems approach to enhance school nutrition operations. Chef Cindy has a combined skill set that includes extensive experience in nutrition science, food safety, culinary arts, recipe development, training program development, school nutrition program operations, and volume food service management. Most notably, the White House recognized Chef Cindy with a Champion of Change Award in 2011 for her no-nonsense balanced approach to nutrition and dedication to educating school nutrition professionals. In 2018, she received the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics School Nutrition Services DPG Award of Excellence. As you can see, we have an excellent panel of experts that will guide us in our writing produce specifications discussion. Next slide. But before we start, we are going to go over some of the objectives that will be takeaways for you today. So today's webinar focuses on how to properly draft produce specifications to get the right product for your nutrition program at the right price. This is every buyer's goal, right? We want you to understand what can happen if you have poorly written specifications. When buying frozen or dry goods, it's easier to get the product you want by stating the exact product code. For fresh produce, you need to understand how to use produce descriptions such as US Grade Standard and USDA Commercial Items Descriptions, also known as CIDs, to get the desired product. Now, without further delay, I'll turn it over to Chef Cindy.
Thanks, Natasha. Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to start out talking about the School Nutrition Meal Cost Study. Now, you guys might not know this, but USDA has been collecting meal cost data for many, many years now. I think we probably have about 10 reports out to date, but the one that we have, the most recent one of 2019, was after the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act. We were supposed to have implemented all of those meal changes in 2012 or 2012, school year 2012-2013. But this data was actually collected January to June in 2015. So I am very pleased to report out there that 81% of you guys are offering some form of fresh fruit or vegetable every day. So that's very exciting. So we know you need some produce specifications. Right product, right price. I think this is what everybody wants, right? So what you have to do is to determine what it is that you need. What are you going to be buying? Then two, you have to go out and find out, what's available to purchase. What does your vendor have? What does your farmer grow? And then finally, you write that specification so that you can put out a competitive bid to get the product that you want. Now, it is up to you to tell the vendor what it is you want. Okay, that's the goal here. So what do you need? Are you going to be making a soup or stew and you need full-size carrots, or do you need baby carrots? Do you need sandwich-sized tomatoes, or you're going to be dicing up tomatoes and making a nice pico? We have roasted sweet potatoes here. I could buy really giant sweet potatoes, probably get a good price. But if I'm going to be doing a sweet potato boat like you see here on the screen, you're probably going to need a specialized size of about an 8-ounce sweet potato, so you can cut that in half to get a half a cup serving. So these are the things that you as the buyer and the menu planner need to work together on to make sure you are buying the product that you need. Now, I thought this would be fun for some of you to throw this resource in. I have it right here, and I'm going to take you through it. We will post this resource for you to get. It is called, Is an Apple Always an Apple? So for many years, we've been buying a range of count apples in the 125 count size. But then as we started buying from local farmers, we realized some of you are interested in buying different size apples than what's in the food buying guide. And you're wondering, well, how do I calculate the meal contribution? So right here, we have an example on this resource. We have a case count of 150 to 163 count apple. And what we're going to do is we're going to divide the case weight, and in our example, it's a 40-pound case. I'll let Tom talk more about that. That 40-pound case gets divided by the most number of apples in the case. So in our example, it's 163. So we've got 40 divided by 163, and that gives us 0.2453. And what you're going to do is you're going to multiply that amount, okay, by, that's the average weight, by the servings per pound. Now you have to go and use the food buying guide to find out the servings per pound, which in our example here is 3 2/3 cups, so 3.66. I might be scaring you guys this afternoon with the math, but it's right here on your handy dandy sheet. But anyway, back to this. So we're going to multiply that, our portion weight by 3.66, and we get 0.89. You can't round up for meal contribution. You're going to be rounding down here. So 0.75 is the answer. So for every 150 to 163 count apple in this case, you would be able to count that as 0.75 or 3/4 of a cup meal contribution. So I thought that'd be fun to go through a little math this afternoon. What else do you need? Production method. I mentioned the soup or stew, and I mentioned buying the larger full-size carrots. This is a chef that's doing an oblique cut. So a lot of times chefs will do an oblique cut when they're making a soup or stew, or they're roasting carrots to give it a different shape. You just don't want every single thing in your, in your soup or stew to be the same, everything being a dice. So this is just a different option. But of course, if you're buying just baby carrots, then this is not going to be an option for you. You also need to think about your equipment. So the menu and the equipment, all of that rolls together in your decision making. Here on the screen, we've got red potatoes and we've steamed them and then we season and smash them up using a mixer, as opposed to a piece of equipment that you would need for, say, instant potatoes, which would be, we have this instant hot water dispenser photograph here. So again, looking at your equipment also is going to drive your purchasing decisions. Availability. So what's out there? You need to find out from the distributor, or if you're buying locally, what do they have? Are you going to be able to get the item? Also, can they supply the quantity? We have, I'll tell you, when we've been on field trips with PSU participants, it's been very, and Tom can support this, it's been very eye-opening to see the vendors realize the quantities that school nutrition operators are purchasing. They usually kind of stand back and a little bit of shock when they realize how many truckloads of apples some of you guys might be buying. Is the product available when you need it? For those of you who are buying directly from the grower, remember Mother Nature is in charge and may or may not be able to get that, that product out of the field. And then last here, again, I keep bringing up the produce yield and being able to calculate that. It's very important for you to calculate the actual produce yield, because that's going to determine the product and the portion size pricing. So that's important for you. All right, writing clear specifications, resources. I'm going to take you through some resources. First one, okay, we're going to dust this off, folks. Okay, you guys know you have this on your shelf. It is a fabulous resource tucked away inside, after all of the marketing information, is this, okay? Buying fruits and vegetables. So if I flip open to this page here, let's say I want to buy kiwi fruit, or maybe I'm going to do mangoes for some special occasion or my fresh fruit and vegetable program. Here I've got, you know, size and it's in season and storing information, varieties, okay, fabulous information in here. And then we'll flip over here to the veggie section. We've got bell peppers, potatoes, red and white potatoes. Again, lots of great resources to write your specifications in the Fruit and Vegetable Manual. Another great resource is the Produce Marketing Association's Fresh Produce Manual. Now, to be able to get this, it's in a PDF form. And so if you just go into your browser and type this entire statement that you see here, the Produce Marketing Association Fresh Produce Manual, it will bring up a link to a PDF, and then you'll be able to download all this information. There will be some of the same information in the Produce Marketing Guide as well as this, but you may see some other varieties listed. I noticed that PMA has whether or not an item is ethylene sensitive or not. So, you know, some more information there too. Another great place to go and get specification writing information is the U.S. grade standards. Now, Tom is going to be talking a lot about quality and condition and what builds into a U.S. grade, so I don't want to take away from that, but just know that you can go out to the Agricultural Marketing Service website, click on a fruit or click on a vegetable, and you'll see the grade standard. And I happen to have an example here. This is a grade standard for blackberries, and it's a US #1 grade, and you can see here it's firm, it's well colored, it's free from the little caps, you know, the calyxes. So you can look through here and read the descriptor words for quality and condition that will then be able to help you write specifications, particularly for local farmers. It would be very beneficial for you there. Again, today and then also in our last summer series called the Produce Lab, Tom will be going through much more detail in US #1, 2, and the grades. Oh, by the way, just a little bit of, you know, when experts like Tom look at a box of produce and they see US #1 grade, okay, it's like you and I looking at a reimbursable meal and going, oh yeah, that's reimbursable, or it's not. Okay, that's what he's able to do after all this training, is he can look at produce and tell you, oh yeah, this meets this grade or this not, because he has been trained in so many years of this. Now, we have a polling question for you all. What we want to know is what you've been using to write your specifications. So this is what you're going to answer. Select the following resources. You can check all that apply. that you have used to create your fresh produce specifications. So maybe you have used the fresh fruit and vegetable galore, which that would make me very happy to see who's used that. Some of you may already know about PMA, the Produce Marketing Association's produce manual. Maybe you've been out to Market News or used the US grade standards. If anyone is out there and you have used another resource, we would be interested in knowing what you're using. So there is a little, you can click on the chat box and just let us know what resource has been helpful for you. And maybe it's something that we need to know about. We need to be adding to Produce Safety University, because we've just sort of given you the top ones. Now this last one says, need to write fresh produce specifications. I do not want you to be embarrassed to check this one. Okay, I've got a list of 10 things over here that I need to be doing. We're all a work in progress. So it is absolutely okay to say, well, that's something I need to do, which is why I'm on this webinar today, okay, to get information. When people attend Produce Safety University, one of the #1 things they go and ask Tom, they beg Tom, please Tom, give my school district produce specifications, because I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. Tom is not able to do that. Okay, no one can give you your produce specifications. Why? Okay, I just went through why. It's very subjective, very custom to what you need. Okay, we've got some poll results here. Let's see. Oh, I'm so excited. We've got 35% of you who are using the Fresh Fruits and Vegetables Galore. Oh, we've got some people who know about PMA. That's fantastic. 23% are using US grade standards. Yay, Tom. Other resource, so we've got 21%. I'm going to be really excited to go and look at the chat box in a few minutes to see what other resources you're sharing with me. And hey, listen, we've got 37% who are on this webinar today because they need to write fresh produce specifications. Okay, this is a good place to start with that. All right, fantastic. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take just a moment and let me go see if I can see the Q&A. Natasha was going to toss me some questions, but let me just click on it and see what I can see. Oh, I see. The handy, oh, there she is. Somebody's asking about my handy dandy sheet. I believe that ICN on the webinar, Natasha can post this. Is that correct? She's muted. Natasha, you're unmute.
Sorry.
No problem.
Yes, they should be able to post it for us.
Yeah, so we will post this. That's fantastic. For
we
those,
also have,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Farm to School resource guides have specification language I have used, is what one anonymous attendee said. So it's not really a question, but just a suggestion that.
No, but I think that's great to share that there's farm to school resources. You know, every state has lots of wonderful farm to school resources, and yes, I would highly recommend using that resource guide locally. That it will also help you with writing local specifications, which is good. Someone is asking, Natasha, I sort of took over, I'm sorry. Someone's asking, where can you buy the Fruits Galore book? To my knowledge, this is not currently in print. It was shipped out probably, I want to guess, 15 years ago from USDA. And I would suggest if you're in a school district, someone on their shelf has it. So I would go and dig among the manuals, and it probably is there, but I don't think it is available to be in a hardback. Natasha, we will need to find out if the Fruits and Vegetables Galore book is available online, because I've had a hard copy for so long, I've not had to go and look up to see if the resource has been put in electronic.
Yes, it is online, and actually Karen Olson just sent everyone the link. So we'll be also sure to do that post-webinar for those of you who need that resource.
Okay, that is terrific. Well, I don't want to take up too much time here. I need to turn this presentation over to Tom. Thank you. I'll be back.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Tom Schwartz. I do work for AMS, the USDA Specialty Crops Inspection Division, and I'm thrilled to death to be with you today. I have about 256 folks that are listening in, and for us as trainers and for folks that are into the produce world and business and reaching out, I'm very excited about having that many folks on. So let's go through some of the USDA procurement, let's just say guidelines, some rules and regulations, things that we look for if you are going to write some really good specifications. I know we spoke of it last time, product origin, that's a big thing anymore, especially with COOL, that's the country of origin labeling. We spoke about it a little bit last week in a different webinar, so we will go over that again. Labels and packaging, like what are the requirements and what would you have to write down for a specifications? Shipment and deliveries, of course, that's a very big concern. And of course, the individual commodity specifications. The bid specifications are based on descriptions and they may include size or shape. There may be some color requirement that you are interested in, or it may be a requirement of the grade. So that'll be interesting. You can include things like quality and condition, defects, and we will go into that when we talk about, for the next webinar, when we talk about grade and condition defects. But suffice it to say that quality defects are things that happen when it's growing and condition is progressive. You can include the percent free from decay or percent free from other kind of discolorations or bruising or shriveling. Maturity would be a great thing to include on a buy. If you want ripe or firm ripe, I know you already are doing it. If you're buying bananas, what stage color they are, that is actually a ripeness. The name of the product, of course, I hope you understand bananas, or you might have something specific. A USDA grade, if you want to include that on a specification, would be wonderful. Not everything has a USDA grade. That's sort of interesting for me that folks would buy like lychee nuts or things like that, but they do occasionally. And I'm excited that people are trying different things. The geographical origin, of course, is a big concern, and I go over that next. Receiving time and temperature, you could include. Type of packaging, do you want a bulk container or individual containers? So let's go in and let's get started and let's go into this more a little bit in depth. And of course, commodities delivered shall have originated from crops that have been 100% grown, processed, and packed in the United States. And I know Chef Cindy went over it last week with, there are occasions, such as bananas, that are not commercially grown in the United States that you purchase all the time. And she went over some of the rules and some of the requirements for being able to do that. And it can be done, it's done all the time, but that slide needed to be shown. Contractors must provide the domestic origin certification and documentation records so that ensures you that you are buying most of your product American grown. So if it's grown in the United States or even Puerto Rico, and there are some trust territory islands that you can actually purchase from. So that's excellent information. Vendors, they have an option to use commercial labeling that meets all applicable FDA requirements, of course. They have to also contain a code which allows for traceability. And that's for foodborne illnesses. If they ever need to get a product out of the system, out of the commercial growing system, they have to be able to trace back this product. And you'll notice just on this bag of onions, of course, there's a brand, so they would indicate that by if it was a recall or a watch out for this brand. But on this package, there's also a USB code that they could trace it to one step forward and one step back, where it came from and who they sent it to, which of course is all part of auditing. And when it comes to food safety, they ensure that. But these are the requirements if you were going to sell to the USDA. So do not reinvent the wheel. And that's why I'm going over these things, because it's all written down. Chef Cindy showed you the USDA site to find the grades and standards. It's also in there on commodity procurement, and that's where I'm going to go over. And like I said, it's already all written down and really described. So again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So Chef Cindy has a really wonderful saying when it comes to R&D, but I'll let her talk about a little bit more about that. Again, if you are going to sell to the USDA or the USDA is going to purchase your product, they all have to have a good agriculture practice and a good handling practice audit of the operation. And that's a requirement, a USDA requirement. And it must be conducted by, that's me, USDA AMS Specialty Crops Program and Auditing Division. So that's sort of me. And my group, of course, that works with us here. Contractors will be allowed a tolerance of the final delivery of like 50 or so cases in case they can't fill the order completely. But these are all requirements to purchase or sell to, purchase for us, sell to from growers and stuff. So again, you can use this as guidelines if you are going to write a specification. You can adapt it to what you need. All inspections to be performed are at destination unless otherwise specified. It's the contractor. So it's the person that has to make the arrangements or the responsibility to arrange for these inspections. But now just for a moment, I want to talk about onions. As you can see, these are BGG onions. They are Bermuda Granex Grano, which means they're sweet. It's a sweet onion. It has very, very thin skin. And the difference, well, I'll start with these, is that they contain a lot of moisture or a lot of water in this. And that's why they're sweet. They're not heavily concentrated. And that's why they're called a sweet onion. It's a BGG. The other onions are northern onions, which are grown in the northern hemisphere, which you all are familiar with. They used to call them cooking onions and Spanish onions, things like that. But they are very low moisture. And why they were developed to have low moisture was so that they could store them for long periods of time. Remember, like Vidalia onions, which is a BGG or a sweet onion, you can only get them May and June. But northern onions that are stored, you get them all year. There's only one harvest date for onions. And then they are stored and then released into commerce for the whole rest of the year. And that's why they're different. But anyway, so again, you can select a sweet onion or a northern onion. The grade that we buy is a US #1 or better. It can always be better. We use en route or at destination tolerances, but I would rather see you purchase things based on shipping point tolerances, which are a little bit more restrictive when it comes to allowed for defects. Size is a very big part of everything that we buy. The minimum diameter is 1 3/4 inches, but at least 60% have to be 2 inches or larger. That just gives you a larger onions within the bag, not so many small ones. They should be not more than 3 adjacent sizes. So what that means is they don't want a big variance in sizes in these bags. Types of packs, you can get all kinds, mesh sacks, bags, 10, 5-pound, all kinds of different shipping containers. And they must be yellow or white color only. What I'm trying to show you is that you can write this in your specifications and you're using terminology that most people can understand, especially people that you're going to buy from. This is the produce language that you need to know. Next, it's tater time with Tom. But we talk about potatoes all the time. These are very thin skinned, probably Yukons. But anyway, there are different types of potatoes, just like there's different types of onions. The russet variety was made or created or bred to be able to be stored again, one harvest time, and then they would store them, and they still do, for the rest of the year, and then allow them out into commerce whenever they're needed. The other types, or reds, Yukons, white rounds, they have a lot of moisture. Again, they break down rather quickly, and they're not that good for storing because they, well, I hate to say it, but they rot rather quickly. And that's why there's a difference. But when you're purchasing, if you can buy a local type of white potato when it's in season, there's nothing better. But now russets, you get most of the year. They're packed in sizes or counts, but they are very low moisture, good for storing. You can knock the eyes off of them when they come out of storage, and they're still good to eat. The only thing is, you know, you got to add a lot of butter and a lot of sour cream. That's why I like them. But again, we purchase a US #1, which means something in our business. They have to be washed. They have to size requirements. They have to be in a 50-pound carton and they should be like a size 100 or 110. And a size 100 is minimum 6 ounces, maximum 10 ounces. That's a requirement for a 100 size. They can be in paper bags, and they should be a size A, which means that 40% or more have to be 2.5 inches in diameter or larger, or 6 ounces. So again, it's giving you more larger potatoes in there. Because if you notice, it's a 2-inch minimum, which is a very small diameter potato. And nobody would be happy, unless you ordered B's or a smaller size potato, to have to peel a lot of 2-inch potatoes. They can come in a 10 or a 5-pound bags. Size A, again, size is a big part of when it comes to commodity procurement, especially when you know what size you need. So please include the size when it comes to a lot of our commodities. The same thing with tomatoes. You probably have no idea what a U.S. combination grade is, but I do. It means that at least, well, it's a combination of #1s and #2s. But this requirement for procurement means that there can't be more than 15% or 85% have to be US #1s. That's the requirement here. They have to be a size 5x6, which is a rather large tomato. That's a minimum of 2 and 25-30 seconds for all of you who have calipers out there. Again, that's the minimum size, but the next part is interesting with purchasing. They have to be 80% or more of the tomatoes have to be turning in pink. Well, what does that mean? Well, we have a slide for that. If you'll notice, in the center of this card, you'll see these color requirements or classifications. The center for tomatoes are turning in pink. That means that the carton that you receive, 80% of the tomatoes that are in it should be that color, turning in pink. Now that means 20% can be something other than that, like the light red to red or green and breakers, but 80% should be turning in pink. And what that will do is extend the shelf life. I have noticed that most people, most times that tomatoes are delivered, they're all light red to red. And it really doesn't take long for them all to be red and then become very ripe and soft. And that's okay if you're going to use them up. But if you could purchase tomatoes in this line of turning in pink, that's only up to about 60% breaking color, that they would last a really long time for you. If you needed like maybe 5 pounds a day out of a 25-pound box, by the end of the week, you still have nice tomatoes that are turning red. Again, that's all part of commodity procurement. And this note I wanted to show you is that DOD produce, I know you're buying DOD fresh out there. The specifications are a minimum of a US #1. That may surprise some of you out there, but that is the requirement for purchasing for DOD. They are encouraged, of course, to purchase local products, and they say that they have about 15 to 20% provided to schools is currently considered local, which is excellent for you guys. And of course, products are marked with a local tag in the Favors catalog, if you have the Favors catalog, and they maximize purchases and support local procurement. So that's a wonderful thing for DOD Fresh. But I have heard many stories about the quality of the product. I just want to mention here, if you write clear and specific specifications, if they are not met, it's okay that you send them back. The more that you, I don't want to say complain, but the more that you have conversations with your distributor about the quality of your product, you'll be amazed how it becomes better and better because you are becoming knowledgeable on what you should be receiving. And I believe that's 90% of everything. So commodity specific for fresh vegetables, this is a document that's provided by the USDA. It is our commercial item descriptions, or a CID. It is available and it is the best price in the whole world. It is free. and it's used for purchasing specifications. Over 180 are available different commodities with the commercial item description. And of course, it includes some fresh cut items. There are requirements for good manufacturing practices and food security, analytical and microbiological testing, of course. And of course, it contains the product information, packaging, size, grade. Again, I mentioned it before, you really don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can, it's on ams.usda.gov, grades and standards, and just put in SIDS, C-I-D-S, and it'll come up and you can open it. But again, on that USDA homepage that you saw that Chef Cindy had up earlier, you can get to it from there. Grade standards, the commercial item descriptions, they are all located within that homepage, and it's just a click away. The commercial item description, just as an example for broccoli florets, it has to be ready to eat, grown, harvested, packed, micro-tested, and transported according to FDA's guidance for industry food safety requirements. They have to be bright, they have to be distinct dark green to blue in color. Now that just happens to be for broccoli florets. And of course, color is everything when it comes to regular broccoli. But we are seeing all different colors now of cauliflower, golden cauliflower, purple. We're seeing broccoli, different types and configurations. So if you want something specific, just write it in your specification. If you want purple cauliflower, write it down. You want bright yellow cauliflower? If your distributor can get it and get it for you, they can definitely take care of that for you. You just have to be specific on what you want. If you just say broccoli, you're going to get green broccoli, which is most of the time what you want. But, you know, there's all different sizes that are related to broccoli florets. It's in the grade standard, like from 3/4 to 2 3/4 inches in diameter. It has to be, of course, like I said, ready to eat and grown and harvested and packed. So size is a big part of broccoli crowns, believe it or not, because it is specified in the grade standard. So many times, if you just say US #1 broccoli floret, you'll be able to get that product. And everybody can understand that language because all they have to do is read the grade standard. This is an example of a specification for fresh broccoli florets. Shelf life, I have noticed that there is more and more specifications, especially with product that has codes on it, on less than 8 days. They usually select 8 days. I guess that number can fluctuate. They could be vacuum packed. They may be used to retain quality and package, not to bloat or verge of rupturing. They must be labeled to maintain traceability, of course, or they could be modified atmosphere packaging or a MAP, where they introduce nitrogen into the container. And what it does is it just helps, it's preservative. It makes them last longer. I know back in a little bit longer, the broccoli florets and cauliflower, the way they used to pack them, they used to blow up into these great big, like round balls of plastic. And now the new packaging helps alleviate that by releasing some of those trapped gases within there. I used to see it in actually in baby carrots also. It's a very interesting, but specifications are based on descriptors, the size, shape, color, again, quality, maturity, especially if you're buying any types of melons or anything like that. The name of the product, I hope you know what the name of the product is. If there's a USDA grade, please include that, a #1, a #2, open up the grade standards and see what Chef Cindy had open, that blackberry grade standard. If you just read the basic requirements for a blackberry, it has to be firm. It has to be free of those caps that are on top of the, it's all in there. Just look at the basic requirements and you can write a pretty good specification for that. They can't be shriveled, they can't be soft, things like that. You can include that in your specification writing. Again, when it comes to the size of the container, I included this case of watermelons because if you order cases of watermelon, I hope you have someone that can actually lift them when you do receive them. These cartons can be pack 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, but they weigh about 60 to 75 pounds each. So like I said, you'd have to take all the watermelons out if you receive them to put them away. I know inspecting them is a job, believe me when I tell you, but they're very heavy. So again, packaging is everything. So size is a big thing. Packaging is a big thing. If you want a master container, or you want like say of cherry tomatoes or grape tomatoes, or if you want the individual cups that are in a master container. Those are all things that should be in your specification, because if you leave too many openings, you never know what you're actually going to get. Now I am going to turn it over to Chef Cindy. And at the end, we'll have some questions, all right? So thank you all very much. Back to Chef.
Thanks, Tom. That was fabulous. This is really making me homesick for our face-to-face opportunities at Produce Safety University. So here's to PSU next year. Come on, vaccine. Improving specifications. So poorly written specifications, you don't want your vendor out there trying to figure out what it is that you want, trying to put it together like a puzzle. Okay, it should be really easy and straightforward of what it is that you want, because if you can't quite figure out what you want, then certainly the vendor is not going to be able to figure out what you want. If you have a poorly written specification, it could limit competition. Again, that could impact people who want to do business with you. Decreasing quality and or condition. If you're not clear, they may try to go to something lower to keep the price down. So again, writing that specification clearly as possible. And of course, the big thing is cost. Okay, if people aren't clear, they may go, ooh, I need to pad this for a little bit more because I really don't know what they want. So it can really impact what it's going to cost you. So let's go through an unclear specification example. So on the screen here, you see oranges, Valencia, 138 count. Tom told you that means how many are in a case. During this bid period, I'm going to buy 200. So let's take a look at what my vendor is going to send me. I don't know about you, but I don't think those oranges look too great. Might be great if I have a juicer at home to make some orange juice, but they don't look so good for just serving to my students. So look at the label. We have oranges, Valencia. That's what I asked for. But then you see the grade written says the word choice there. Okay, choice is going to be a lower grade than something that you might want to serve to your students. So because you didn't say, okay, in your bid specification what grade you were looking for, or describe it in any way for someone to know what you were looking for, then you left it up to someone else. And I decided that, hey, at schools, I'm going to send you a really, really, really inexpensive product. Another example here. We have Macintosh apples. We're buying a 40-pound case. They're tray packed, 125 count to a box. But I have said extra fancy or fancy. I'm not really sure what I want. So you see here, my extra fancy are going to cost me $6 more a case than my US fancy. And I'll just tell you folks, if you're going to slice these up, you're probably not going to notice this color requirement. Now, some of you may say, hey, I'm doing a catered event. I really want that color on that apple. It's important to me. If it's important to you, then say so. But don't leave this open-ended thing of you're not sure what it is that you want to buy. So I'm going to summarize before we get to our Q&A by saying, go out there, take a look at your menu, figure out what it is that you want, okay, and then what's available on the market, and then write that specification to get what you want. People say, well, I'm not getting what I want. If you're not getting what you want, then you need to back up and figure out, why is it I'm not getting what I want? Maybe you didn't write the specification clear enough. Maybe you need to have a pre-bid meeting and sort of have a visual expo, if you will, of all your produce items that you would like to see your vendors provide you. And then last thing here I have up, which is receive what you want. In our last summer series, the Produce Lab, Tom and I will be talking about receiving and making sure that you get that product, but that's really a key point here as well. So you've written the specification, but your procurement becomes full circle when the person receives that product and you actually get the product that you want. So I've got some photographs here on the slide. You see we've got choice bell peppers, a little crooked, not as beautiful. Then we've got these extra large peppers, which I'm looking at as a chef thinking, I'm kind of going for those extra large because I would have to chop less of them. So labor, you think about that too. And then over here to our right, we have a pepper called suntans. I first learned about suntans from Tom 10 years ago. I got so excited about learning that there was this pepper that was sort of in between, that was a little more affordable for schools, but you could still get a little bit of that red in that salad or in that dish. So again, think about what it is that you want and then go and get the resource, write the specification, and then train your receivers to receive what it is that you want. I think then we're opening up to our final Q&A. So we've got Natasha and Tom and I here to ask questions.
Yep. So thank you, everyone. Make sure that if you have any questions for Chef Cindy and Tom, that you click into the chat box below. We are looking at those right now, and we'll be sure to answer them for you. At the moment, we don't have any, but let's give everyone just a couple of seconds to enter their questions.
Hey, Natasha.
Yeah.
I have a question here on my board. When we were talking about those suntan peppers,
Yes.
they usually are a choice pepper, but they are in season. They are very reasonable case cost. And of course, you can get all the colors if you ordered suntan peppers. You wouldn't have to order reds. Sometimes you wouldn't have to order yellows. They already come in all multiple colors. And it's funny, in the U.S. grade standard, any amount of like an other color other than green, like say there's a little tinge of red or a tinge of yellow on a pepper, it's considered a red pepper or it's considered a yellow pepper. The standard was written for green peppers. So if you read the US grade standard for peppers or sweet peppers, it's based on a green colored pepper. So if you have to otherwise specify that, like purple or US #1 red or US #1 yellow, or stripe varieties now. They have stripe varieties that are specific and are red and yellow, specifically called stripes. So the world of peppers has really evolved since when this grade standard was written. And it was when there was only just green bell peppers. And even a green bell pepper will turn red as it matures. So it's longer on the vine, or longer on the bush, actually. But so it's interesting about peppers. I keep forgetting that a lot of folks don't know some of these things. But do you have are there any other questions posted?
Yeah, so we did have one question. This is not specific to the technical expertise, but we had someone ask if they missed the first training, can they get the video recording to review what was covered? And absolutely, we will have those videos up at the icn.org. Probably about over the next 6 months. We'll be sure to let everybody know when we're about to take them down, but they are available, so you can check out the first summer series that we did have. And this one is also being recorded and will be available as well. We do have, if a small SFA wanted to purchase from a small local farm, would the farm still need to be GAP certified?
I could probably handle that one. No, there's no requirement that schools have to purchase from a farm or a grower that is covered under a GAP audit, Good Agriculture Practice audit. Many school districts now are requiring it for purchasing, but there's no federal requirement that they have to buy from a GAP farm if it's local. We talk about it next week in the GAP class on how they can self-certify a local grower. If they don't have an official GAP audit, they can self-certify. And then if you feel comfortable, then you can purchase from them. But there's no federal requirement at all. There may be a local one or a local school district or within your county or something, but not federally. No way.
Thanks, Tom. We do have an additional question. Are there any recommendations on writing bids for fixed prices versus market pricing or markup?
Natasha, I'll take that. I just see the question here. Any comments on writing bids for fixed prices versus market pricing? Last week, we talked about using market news as an index to check your pricing. I'm not sure what Holly's asking about comments on fixed prices. I would say that the produce industry is very volatile, and many school districts will write the bid cost plus fixed fee so that they can check the market and the prices can go up and down. I think that's a very common practice for produce purchasing.
Yes, that's correct, Chef Cindy. We went over it last week with using the custom averaging tool that's offered by Market News to maybe if you're going out on a bid on a certain commodity for the year, for a month, or for whatever time period, that you can use that tool to get a historic price in that time frame. It'll show you from 1 year to 5 years on what the price averages, as long as you put in the correct, well, they're little drop downs. If you're buying a 25-pound case of tomatoes, just select that and it will give you the average price. And that would be your standard price. But then, of course, if it can fluctuate plus or minus. And if it fluctuates too much, they may have to call you, and you can include that in the bid, to find out if you still want them. Nobody usually has a problem if it goes down in price. It's only usually when it goes way up in price that you can then decide whether you actually still want to have that product or not, or use a substitution. So that's how that's used. But great question.
And then we just have one last one. Is there a specific order for the specifications?
Chef, a specific order like size, quality, condition? Not that I know of, but commodity first, I would think.
I would agree that the commodity would be listed first. I'm not sure about the question when they say specific order. I think as long as you have the information in there clearly written for the vendor, that would be acceptable.
I agree.
You know, what you might want to do is look at the order in which some of our resources have them in and follow along with that. I think that'd be good.
Well, that's all the question and answers that I see. Did you guys see any on your end?
You know, actually, Emily has a question regarding crediting. And I would say she is asking regarding the suntan bell peppers, as long as there's yellow red, is it considered a red pepper? I would get approval from my state agency on that, just to confirm, in case there's any question.
Emily says, thank you, Chef Cindy.
All right.
Okay. Well, with that being said, this will wrap up our webinar for writing produce specifications. Just for everyone's awareness, the resources that were mentioned, like Fruit Galore and the commodity specifications for fresh vegetables, will be provided on the ICN.org website on the webpage for this summer series. So be sure to go there. They'll make sure to have those for you. And again, you can also contact us with any additional questions you may have that were not answered at Produce Safety University at USDA.gov. We hope that you will join us next week, same time, next Tuesday for the third session of our Produce Safety University summer series. And with that being said, I will turn it over to Colin with the ICN.
Thanks, Natasha. My name is Colin Hughes. I'm project coordinator at the ICN. Just a final reminder that today's webinar has been recorded. We'll have it up to be able to be viewing it on the ICN.org/webinar. This webinar should be available in about 24 hours, and we'll have it up along with the handouts mentioned today, So you can find all those resources there in the same place. Be sure to follow us on our social media and our website at www.theicn.org for any up-to-date information and new trainings that we have coming up. You can also email us if you have any questions about finding the webinars and the materials we have at our help desk. Thanks again to our speakers, Chef Cindy Story, Tom Schwartz, and Natasha Williams. This will conclude today's webinar. Have a great day.